Now, as long as I can remember, I always remember my mother saying, Arthur, you ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. You can be the president or you can be in prison. And from what I'm seeing right now, it looks like you're going to prison. Think about a mother telling a child that. If I would have stayed with my mother in their home, there's no telling. Maybe I would have been in prison. Maybe I would still be there. But I was lucky enough to over to my paternal grandmother's house and live over there. And she showed me all the caring and sensitivity that I had never seen in my life. Never experienced that. So I'm very grateful for my grandmother. Very, very grateful. So the story begins. I'm going down to see my mother at her job. And she had this co-worker down there. You know, she was younger. She was way younger. She was younger than me. She was like a teacher's aide or some shit. And, you know, she was peeping your boy. You know, I was young and handsome and all the good shit. And so, and she was giving it up. She was giving it up and giving it out. And I was taking it. Took it. I had a girlfriend. Loved me. Really loved me. And I was terrible to her. Cheating on her. With a bitch like that. With that bitch. And so, I asked her out. Working on things with my girlfriend. So my sister has a party. And it's like a family party. It's my mother, my sisters, my cousin, me and my girlfriend. And so we're sitting there chilling, chopping it up, laughing and shit. And then this bitch busts in, the ex-side piece busts in. I haven't fucked with her for damn near a year. She busts in with her friend in sweatpants. Looking like they want to fight my woman, right? And so I tell my girl, I was like, hold on, let me go handle this real quick. And she says, Arthur, you better not go over there. I went over there. I was like, bitch, come here. Let's go talk. I ain't going nowhere with you. Like, okay. So these bitches leave. My girlfriend, I was living with her. She put me out. She had enough. I was terrible to her. I called her and apologized years later and shit, for my actions. And so I went back to the party. The party is over. I asked my mother, I said, why did you do that, Mama? She said, because that's my friend. I'm your son. So anyway, that made no difference. In the back of my head, it was still playing, you ain't shit. Echoing, you ain't shit. Shit. Like that. And so, months later, I ended up getting back with the side piece. Well, she came over to complain that she was pregnant. She was pregnant by this guy and he didn't want nothing to do with her and shit. And I was like, you can have that motherfucking big head, badass baby. I'll help you and shit, you know, whatever. And so she had a miscarriage or something. But before that, she was talking about, he got a 1994. I'm going to tear that car up. I'm going to slash the tire. She's saying all that. I'm like, why would you do that? You know, if the nigga don't want to be with you, he don't want to be with you. And so a month later, she's pregnant. By guess who? No cigars. No cigars. And first thing out of her mouth, I ain't gonna get an abortion. I'm like, bitch, I didn't ask you to get an abortion. And so we're sitting down one day. It's me, this bitch, and my parents, mother and father, right? They ain't together, but me and my pops, we hung out from the time he divorced my mom until the time I moved to Seattle with this bitch. And so she just comes out of nowhere and says to my parents, "I'm pregnant." My mom looks, she's drinking her beer like. My pops just looks at me, I just look at him like. And I said, "Did you tell your mother?" She says, "No, why don't you tell my mama?" So I picked up the phone, I called her mama and shit. I was like, "This bitch pregnant." And her mama was like, "I know, because she usually be on her period, and I was looking around the garbage can and I didn't see no tampons." And I'm thinking like, ugh, you're a nasty, nosy bitch. And so she's over here, she's crying like, ooh, because she knew she disappointed her mother because she ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? She knew she wasn't shit. And so I was like, I'm gonna do the right thing. We got an apartment and shit. And this bitch she was just stupid. Like a bitch with no father, no positive male figure in their life, I would never fuck with again. Haven't since then. And so we're living in the apartment, and one day it's a phone call, and they're asking for her mother. And I was like, her mother doesn't live here. She lives here. That bitch lives here. Her mother doesn't. That bitch lives somewhere else. And it was like, yeah, you got her phone number? I was like, yeah, here it is. 555, whatever. Call that bitch. So the mother calls me. I don't know where the bitch is. The mother calls me saying, "Why did you give those people my number?" I said, "Because they called here asking for you and you don't live here." She says, "Well, I don't have a Visa card." I was like, "I don't either." She said, "Well, who does?" Motherfucker, the baby? I don't know. Your motherfucking daughter, that's who has it. And I said, that's where she got those rims from. And she says, "She told me that you bought those rims." I said, "She told me that your bitch ass son brought those rims." And so this bitch comes home. And I was like, huh, so you stealing credit cards from your mama now? And she was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "They call here looking for you buying rims, going to get your hair done, doing all this bullshit." And she was like, "I was just doing it to keep our head above water." See, she had tricked me into being a part of her plan earlier because she was like, "I got rent this month." I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know this bitch was stealing from her mother, you know. And so I asked her, I said, "You stealing from your mama? What you gonna do to me?" She says, "I'm not gonna do nothing to you, 'cause I love you." I said, "Huh? So you don't love your mama?" And she looked at me, got quiet, because she knew she couldn't lie her way out of that. She wasn't expecting that, because evidently her saying that she loved me had been working for so long. Look, after this shit, I stayed with that bitch for maybe 7-8 more years. She never said she loved me again because she knew that shit wouldn't work. And I just gave her a hug like, damn, you're hurt. I was like, you need to go fix that shit with your mama, or you need to get your shit and get out. I called her mama like, she's coming back home. Her mama was like, well, you can't put her out because, she got to get a truck and everything. I said, so she got to get a truck to move all the shit that she bought with the credit card she stole from you. Like, unbelievable. And I should have been paying attention, because that let me know then that she didn't have to face responsibilities. Like, they would always be there for her to avoid consequences of her actions. But she ended up doing it. I'm just talking about this bitch